Hello and welcome to Adventures with ADHD. This week we've got Carol May who is going to share her story. Hi Carol, how are you?
Hi, Susie. I'm good. I'm really good today. So, yes, thank you.
Brilliant. So Carol, just going to dive straight in with the questions, okay?
Cool. Yep.
So, where do you live and what do you do?
So, I live in Hertfordshire, right next door to Essex, actually. So, it's kind of, and I work with ADHD women, professional ADHD women who have hit midlife and they may have had a later diagnosis, so midlife diagnosis. And I work with them around their eating because we all have eating issues, but actually with ADHD, they can be magnified. And certainly what I did was I thought, oh, intermittent fasting. Oh, goody, I have permission not to eat all day, right? Well, that's what a lot of us do, particularly if on medication. But actually our brain doesn't really like that very much. And then we binge eat in the evening. So I work with these women to create a much calmer relationship around food.
Brilliant. And I know I've spoken to you before. That's definitely something I need help with. So I will be getting in touch with you.
Rightio.
So,
jolly good.
So what led you to your ADHD diagnosis?
Well, it was over 20 years ago now. And it started with my youngest nephew who was diagnosed 25 years ago at a time when these things were only just beginning to be talked about, mostly in America. They got no help, absolutely none whatsoever. So she set up her own charity to support parents of children with neurodiverse issues because my nephew is also autistic. And as a result of that, she was working with parents and thought, hang on a second, some of these parents have got the same traits. And so then she went to see the psychiatrist that she was working with. She was diagnosed. And then she said to me, you need to get tested. And I said, who says? Because, we were a little bit like that. And she said the magic words, I'll pay.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's what I did. And he said to me, at the time, you could only get Ritalin. There wasn't really anything else that was around. And he just said to me, no, it conflicts with some of your other medication. And I said, well, I probably wouldn't take it even if you asked me to. So I went down the road of looking at fish oils, EPA fish oils. And he said he was having a lot of success with some of his clients. So I took those. It's a very high dose you take. And so that's the road that I went down. So I have never actually been pharmaceutically medicated, which my son will probably go, maybe it's time then, Mum. But hey, I'm not going.
And that's fascinating. 20 years ago that you were diagnosed. And the fish oils, where do you get them from? Online or in the shop?
Time, I could only get them from a charity, which was fine. And it was a charity supporting research into ADHD and Asperger's. But now what I buy now is krill fish oil online from Amazon. I buy the strongest ones I can get. I buy krill because they're tiny weeny fish, so they're going to be less susceptible to the pollution that's out there in the environment. Heavy metals, toxic heavy metals and stuff. So that's what I use is krill fish oil. But and what I would say is for anybody thinking, oh right, I'll go out there, how many do I take? I would say if you've got the really full on strong ones, start with, 2 a day, and then, maybe a week later, up it to 3, slowly increase it. Because if you take too much all at once of anything, the body just goes, not going to work. Sorry, I'm just going to flush this down the toilet. So give your brain time.
Okay. Good. So what's different now? I know it was 20 years ago that you were diagnosed, but if you can think back, what was the difference between before and after diagnosis?
Well, at the time, I just kind of parked it because, and it seems funny now because we're all talking about it now, but back then it was like, okay, what do I do with this? And there wasn't really the research then that said, oh, this is the way your brain works, blah, 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 blah. And I wasn't taking medication anyway, so I just kind of parked it. And then about 4 years ago, a coach who I'd previously worked with, a business coach, launched a new business, which I noticed, commented on. She messaged me and she said, that's me. And I went, yes, I know it's you. And she said, okay. I said, I'm your ideal client because I have a diagnosis. We need to talk then. And that kind of led to her being my official, if you like, ADHD business coach. Excuse me. And I learned so much working with her about myself. My brain actually functions, and that a lot of the things that I do and say to myself are fine. They're perfectly normal. They're okay. Whereas before, I would have berated myself for not managing this, not achieving that, being a bit chaotic. Sorry. And in fact, at one time, I'd kind of gone the opposite in that I had organized my life and that of my family. I'd organized it within an inch of our lives, really. Everything was down to the last minute and everything was hyper organized. And if anything interrupted that, I'd have a meltdown.
Right. Yeah.
But of course, what I've learned over the years, and, in those in-between years, I trained in counselling and eating disorders and stuff and did my own learning journey, if you like. What I learned was that often our behaviour, we create that, but it's the opposite. It's where we go when we're stressed. And that when I finally learned how to relax, to chill, just to be in the moment, instead of being anxious or being worried about the future, I could see this kind of over-organisation of stuff as just a symptom of, if I was me, this was really stressful. But now I've embraced it. And I just say to people, sorry, I have an ADHD brain. Just leave it at that. And if I double book an appointment or something, I just go, oh my God, so sorry, blah. And because we're talking more about this now, and because more and more women are being diagnosed in midlife, and I was midlife back then, I'm an old bird now, then I get why we're all now talking about this. And so it kind of feels, I don't like using the word, but it kind of feels more normal being me.
Yeah.
And, I used to panic if I was late anywhere. Now, if I'm anywhere on time, massive celebration, because I'm nearly always late. And And I was late getting, I'm staying in a friend's house at the moment. So viewers, listeners, please don't think this is my back garden. It's my friends. But I was late getting here because there'd been a major to-do at the flats where I live. And my friend went, oh, don't worry. She said, I'm always late. I said, I know you're always late. I said, I used to be on time. She said, yes, and that didn't half piss me off. Sorry. She said, but now we're the same.
Yeah, it's kind of taking comfort.
She's not an ADHDer, by the way. She's just a control freak, but hey, that's fine.
So yeah, it's about just being kind to yourself and not beating yourself up and creating yourself.
And I think also not, ADHD isn't my identity. You know, yes, I have an ADHD brain. I have a brain that works in a particular way. It gives me certain skills, superpowers, you know, blah, blah. Other things, I'm like, I don't care anymore. Over the head.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just kind of, you know, go through life in that way. And I've looked at my granddaughter now and think, okay, here it comes.
Yeah. Going down the family line.
Yes, yes. Actually, I've started looking at my own adult children now and thinking, which one of you's got stuff going on? Oh, actually, you both have.
Oh, gosh. So talking of strengths then, what are some of your strengths that could be potentially attributed to ADHD?
I think that I'm very much a big picture person, what my friend calls a curator.
Oh.
I can look at something that could involve loads, but I can bring it all together under one roof. And I can see the overarching connections and positivity of certain things. But you asked me for the details, no chance. I need to farm all that stuff out. I used to try and do the details. Now I go, that's not my superpower. It's not my area of expertise. And actually, quite frankly, I don't want to do it. You know, it's so I think how I am now is very much I'm a connector to other people, and I am very good at you know, conversations and things. I have to talk with my hands. With my hands. And I think that now that I've embraced it, I'm actually just a friendlier person. Because I'm not hung up about anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And is there a level of, with embracing it, is there a level of acceptance of yourself, would you say?
Absolutely. Yes. Now, you know, that can come with age, of course, because, you know, with age comes that talk to the hand thing. And that, so not bothered about that anymore. But I think I am very much like that. I very much live in the moment.
Yeah.
And I, having learned to, I can switch my mind off and go to sleep, which has been a huge thing for me.
Yeah.
And I think, so having more sleep makes me a nicer person in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important, and it's hard to get. It can be, can't it? For ADHD.
Yeah.
Find that balance, find out what works, what doesn't, keep trying. And sleep, massive.
Yeah. I also bought a new bed and it was just wonderful. It's like I never loved my bed before, but I do now.
Lovely. So, do you have a funny or humorous story that could be connected to ADHD or embarrassing?
I guess embarrassing is is just that I talk, my mouth opens before my brain's engaged.
Right.
Sometimes I try to teach myself to take a deep breath before I speak, which gives me time to think, catch up, so I can think about it. But other times it just kind of comes out of my mouth, and I think, why did I say that? That's just awful. And yeah, I mean, we went to a memorial service last week, and I'd already spoken to the dad, and it was a young lad, and and then later on he came up to me and I said, "You do know who I am, don't you?" She said, "Yes, of course I do." And I'm like, oh, oops, before I've engaged my brain.
Yeah.
Until before, yes.
Okay. But yes, and it's about kind of not, I don't know, a lot of people I speak to, myself included, when we have said something that we wish we hadn't, then kind of ruminating over it. Oh,
Yes.
why did I say that? Oh, why did I say that?
Yes.
So is that something that you've had in the past and now you like let it go? Or?
Yeah. I don't, I might do for, you know, an hour or two, maybe.
Yeah.
Initially, and then I just say to myself, look, it's just my thinking. This is just my thinking. This isn't anything about me. It's not even true, probably half the time, and it's gone. It's past. So I can't change it. And I can be better at doing that with other people than with myself.
Mm.
So, you know, on Thursday again, my son had a major meltdown because the tractor had died. We were late to get to this memorial service, and he couldn't find the right clothes. Nothing fitted. He was having a major meltdown. But I can be calm in those circumstances because it's absolutely nothing to do with me.
Mm. Yeah.
And so, you know, I just said to him, put that shirt on. It's dirty. I can't see it. It's wrinkled. I can't see those either. Put it on.
Mm.
I'll find my proper shoes. I said, wear those. I said, it's not a funeral. It's a memorial. We don't have to dress up.
Mm.
And when we got there was loads of people dressed like him.
Yeah.
You know, just a shirt, jeans, and something on their feet, you know. And I said to him, nobody's looking at you. Nobody's looking at your feet. They're just going to look at your face.
Yeah.
I said, so just remember that. And then I thought to myself afterwards, note to self, woman, just remember.
Yeah. Yes, take your own advice.
Yes.
Yeah, and it sounds like you were able to just stay calm and for what he needed at that time, which is a massive strength in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, it comes down to just remembering that a lot of this stuff is just our thinking. You know, yes, my brain works slightly differently from other people's, but my brain works differently from my sister's, and we both got ADHD. So, you know, we're both very different characters. And so, you know, and there's so much really that's different about the two of us that, you know, there's no kind of, well, you know, I have this diagnosis, therefore. And I don't go with that. I go, okay, how does this work for me? How does it affect me?
Yes.
Is this going to change my life or not going forward? And then looking at, you know, as we've been talking about, you know, your strengths And then also what are the areas that you actually need help with?
Yeah. Yeah.
As you say, being kind to yourself.
Yeah. So important. And you're absolutely right. You know, no two people with ADHD are the same. And that's why I think messages can get confused out there, and stereotypes and myths are rife, aren't they? But ultimately, it's about the individual and what works for them. So what works for one person with ADHD is not necessarily going to work for another one, is it?
No. And it just depends if you've got other stuff going on. So, you know, I met a chap at a networking group, and he was also dyslexic and autistic.
Yeah.
And he was saying, oh, you know, I love a mind map. And I went, yeah, big piece of flip chart paper and coloured pens. My friend Jen's going, yeah, absolutely. And he goes, no, I do it on the computer. Oh, the look of horror on Jenny's face. And then apparently I had the same look. But he's got dyslexia, so why wouldn't he use the computer? So I said, do you know what? I'm really glad that works for you. But for me, that's overwhelmed territory. I said, and that could be because I'm older than you. It could be because I'm a woman. It could be because of so many different things. And he said, oh, it's so easy. I said, don't try and convince me. I said, it works for you, but it wouldn't for me. For me, I love my big piece of flip chart paper and coloured pens.
Coloured pens, yes.
Yes. Stationery, you know, stationery for me. Oh, yes. You know, how many packets of coloured pens do you need?
And pencils and highlighters.
Yes. And if I tell you that my granddaughter bought me my own colouring book for my birthday last year, it is an adult colouring book. But she said, there you go, Nonna, then you don't have to use mine.
There you go. Brilliant. Oh.
Yeah. And she wanted to buy me my own puppy because I'm not allowed animals where I live.
Okay. I
look after a puppy on a Friday and I take her out and about, and, you know, we do lots of things. Anyway, so Mummy explained that A, I couldn't have a puppy, and B, puppies were really expensive now. So I had a toy one. A toy one, yes. And then for a man on LinkedIn who got exactly the same one from his daughter. I loved it, absolutely loved it. Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah, he takes the toy puppy for a walk, you know, at work, and he has it by the office and by his desk and all that sort of stuff. And I'm going, yeah, okay, I need to take mine out more.
Yes, yeah, poor thing. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, last question then. What piece of advice would you give to somebody that's recently diagnosed and maybe feeling a bit lost?
I think just let it settle. And, you know, if you're having medication, fine, give it time. If you choose not to, that's also okay. Medication isn't the be all and end all. And then just think about, what difference is this diagnosis going to make for you? Because I see a lot out there, see a lot of negativity. I see a lot of people who are feeling really bad and unhappy and feel like they're a victim. And, you know, it's not an illness, it's just the way our brains work. And we're all individual, and just allow it to be. Just settle into it and just accept yourself for who you are.
Yeah.
And, you know, if there's certain things that you're not great at doing, ask for help. That makes a big deal. You know, I, with my business mentor, you know, she said to me, okay, she said, I've got a couple of ideas for you to help you with getting work done. And she said, one of these, she said, I got from a training course I've been on. She said, and the woman running it so had ADHD. And it was just like, I wrote it down. I thought, yeah, okay, that's great. That works for me. So it's about, you know, not setting yourself up to fail. So only decide to do stuff in a day that you think you really can achieve.
Yeah.
You can't, that's fine. Do it tomorrow. And when you've achieved something, celebrate it.
Yeah.
Go and sit in the garden for 10 minutes and have a cup of tea or whatever. You know, go up the road and buy a chocolate bar, whatever, you know, whatever it is, phone a friend. But allow it to sink in that you can achieve stuff, even though your focus can be all over the place, and mine is.
Yeah.
It's just about using what's out there and trying to find the tools that work for you.
Yeah.
You know, that fit in with your life, your work, your business, whatever it is that you have. And and if your children are also, you know, if you have children and they're also on the spectrum, then, you know, include them. You know, you all do it together.
Yeah.
And just, yeah, there is no right and wrong. Just is.
Yeah. Lovely. Thank you so much. It's going to be so helpful, you know, for so many people. And I love the themes of, you know, embracing it, let it be, accept into, you know, give it time, all really, really lovely kind of words of wisdom, I guess, you know.
Comes of being an old girl, you see. You get a bit you get a bit wiser with old and you look back on your life and go, oh, that was just ridiculous, wasn't it?
Thank you so much, Carol.
You're welcome.